Yes, the audio is completely different because I do not have my microphone turned on. We shall get into it. Hi guys, welcome to the Brethren. My name is Renee. This is Fictional Crafts, where I am normally talking about my writing journey as an independent author / publisher, my reading, and my crafts. The background might look a little different. It's actually not too bad. You can't really see too much, but let me move the camera a little bit and you'll see that is normally a pretty clear desk, and I normally have my bookshelves right here because we are finally moving things in our study, aka garage. The main goal is to move my husband's desk. So his desk is in a position where if the kids wake up, say they've gone to bed and we've decided to watch individual movies, the kids can be standing at the door to our study and see his screen. Which is not ideal because we watch adult films, we watch horrors and action films, and the goal is hopefully by this weekend have the desks moved, and that would also mean swapping some of the desks around, which means my microphone will be in a better position for me to use. It's a thing. But in the meantime, I did want to get a video out today, and what I thought I might share is my ongoing challenge to find the right planning system. So I'm not really a big journaler. I'm not really one to write like daily in a journal. So I don't really need anything really fancy. I'm also what I would call an ugly journaler. I don't give a shit what it looks like as long as it serves my purpose. So up until recently, I cannot reach it because it is buried. But up until literally this week, I have been using a really good week to a spread A4 diary. I've really liked using it. I've used it over the years. I've used both the okay. So yes, the kids are still up. So up until this week, I have been using this diary. It's been a really good diary for me. I've used July to June, which is our Australian financial year versions, and I've used the calendar year, January to December. Over the course of the last 5 years, I've used versions of both. I have found a couple of times like I've stopped using them. I think at one point in there I was using it had a week to a page, and then the other side of the page was a notebook. What book was that? It was one of the more fancier brands. But and over the past couple of months, it's kind of stopped working for me. So this happens periodically for me. Systems that I've been using just crumble. Okay. So over the last couple of months, it's not been working the best for me. But I've been struggling to think of ways to why it's not working. And I think my problem is I've increasingly been trying to remove the pressure of being productive from my to-do list, from my things I want to get done list. And it's not because I don't want to get them done, it's because I've got 2 young kids. I've got a 6 and a 4-year-old, and you can't plan anything when you have 2 young kids and you work and you have lots of appointments for one of them. So you sort of need a lot of flexibility. Like I have been needing more flexibility this year than I've ever had before. And my focused grid of a week to a page, and it has monthlies in it too. I will put a link of it down below. It's a really good planner. I really liked it. Even to the point where when I realised I needed to keep a track of a lot of appointments for my son, I decided to go out and get an A5 size one so I could have it in my bag with me and just have it all the time. But having the two was getting cumbersome, like, because I was literally repeating the same things in both. Appointments, my cat's medicine, because my cat is on daily medicine, and fortnightly vaccination injections, and she's a hot mess, that little kitty cat, but she's doing really well because of her consistent medicine. So I had to really have a good think about what was working and what wasn't working, which is where a very, very long-winded way of coming around to the point of this video, which is I'm going to show you my planning system that I have literally just set up in the last week. It's still ongoing. It's for this will change. This will not be exactly what I've got here now is not what I'm going to have at the end of next February or March. Things will change. But this is working in my head for now. So, and I also don't have everything yet. But I wanted to share it for prosperity's sake so that I can look back on this video myself in a little while and go, oh yeah, that worked, that didn't work. Okay, no, I've gone back to this or whatever. So I've got two planners, and we don't have a lot of money at the moment. We've got a lot of money tied up in specialist appointments and bills. So I've recycled where I can. This is a beautiful A5 handmade A5 journal cover that I had made 5 years ago. I'd gotten it made from a seller on Etsy. I cannot remember the seller's name. I love it. It's been well used. I've always had like some form of notebook in this, but the only thing that's not really been good for it now, it's actually divoted in. So what I did was I poked some holes into it, and I've popped the smaller journals in here. So what wasn't working for me for this was the bigger journal, so the 180 page notebook. I would use like 20 pages and stop working on it and stop using it, or I would swap projects. So I would have my project book in here, and then I'll swap out project books. Anyway, so what I've done is, I won't show you this, but I've got some cards in here. This is like a card holder section. I'm hoping to get one of those inserts so I can maybe put the cards in like a zippered section and just to keep them safe. But I also went to Officeworks. I shall link all this stuff below for you. And I picked up these planners. Now these planners, the planners came as part of the idea. So I had a rare moment where I got out of the house with no children and no work. I had to nick down to the shop. And the shop I had to go down to, whilst my husband was home with the kids, was right next to Officeworks. So I know I've been searching for, and I've had ideas. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, a journal, a system. And I went, I'm just going to go have a look what's in Officeworks. And Officeworks has the really nice, beautiful, expensive journals, the $40 things and that. But they also had these. They had their own, what's their brand called? Kenji? Or Kenji, yeah. They have their own brand of folio cover. So it wasn't very expensive. It was like $20. But I already had this at home, so I wasn't going to go. And this is 100% leather, handmade. I can be a snob in some things. But these their little personal planner inserts for that model ranged from $5 to about $15, depending on which one you got. So I grabbed 4 types to play around with and see how I go. And I'm not going to, I'll show you, yeah. So this is the Feb. This is like, I've already done the numbers up to Feb. So this is an undated monthly, so it is literally just monthlies. So one of the problems, a lot of sews today, sorry. I have not scripted this because I just turned the camera on and started recording because I haven't had time to even think. So I'm sort of thinking through as I discuss this with you, which is not the best way to do a YouTube video, speaking from experience. But this is just literally every spread is just a month spread, which I had in my other diary, but it was at the start of the month, week to a pages. And so I was always flipping between them. So this way I can have this sitting out here, my month to a week, my month to a page sitting out here, and I can be looking at the second one, which I got, which is my... So the second one I've got in here is my week to a page. So it is not huge. There's not a lot of information that you can put on it, which is great. This is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted, and this is what I've been using the A4 sized one for, is I've literally just been putting in things like this. Appointment reminders, shifts. My husband works, he works shift work. So I like to write it down physically for each week as we come in so I can remember when he's working, when he's not working. Appointments, the cat's medicine, like what's due on what day. And this unfortunately is undated too. I would have preferred to grab a dated version, but the only dated week to a pages were for the whole year. And I don't know if this is really this is a test. I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm hopeful because I think this is a good solution for me. So those two are effectively my calendars. I've got an electronic calendar that I use to coordinate with hubby about appointments and like who's looking after the kids, like if I have to go do something or if he needs to go do something. We sort of put it all in one calendar. So the other two books I have in here are effectively my notebooks. So I haven't been writing a lot lately. I haven't been editing. I've been reading, but I haven't, and I like to annotate my books, but I haven't really had anywhere to put like long form observation, things like that. So the way I've set this up at the moment is this is just a plain dotted notebook. And this is sort of going to be my referencey notes. So for instance, I read a book recently about poetry and I was really tickled by the form of the finale. And so I actually wrote out the Vanel's structure. And from that, I've actually put together a structure of my own, which I'm intending to use for something, for a song for one of my races in my science fiction. And then the other thing which I literally just did yesterday was one of my plans on this channel for next year is to do a TBR 0, a slightly different version of it. And so I've just gone through all my A books and I've written down all the books that I have with authors whose surnames start with A, physically, audio, and ebook. And I've just put it in here because my idea is that's a long-term list. And that's a long-term list which I didn't have space for in my diary. But I now have this separated from my diary, which means I am not going to be sitting there and rewriting it out every month or every section. So that's sort of like So I've got my month, I've got my month planner, my weekly planner, my long form information that I want to keep hold of. And then this last book is just a lined book, lined notebook. Have I written anything in here yet? Yes, I have. I've written one of those said songs in here, well, a draft of it. And my current mindset for this book is going to be working notes. So if I have character ideas, or I hear about a book I want to read, or I have an idea for some of the poetry I'm trying to write. I am trying to learn poetry. I never was very good at it. It's something that I've always wanted to be able to write, and so I am giving myself space to just be bad at it in this, because it doesn't have to be beautiful, because it was a $5 book. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be, it's not an expensive journal. So that's where when I say I'm an ugly journaler, that's sort of what I mean, is I'm giving myself space to fuck it up, effectively. So this is like my big journal. And then to complement that, I went and found this. Now, as I said, I don't have everything yet. I've got cash in here. I've already got a receipt in here. Okay, so what I did was I found this tiny little field notes journal. Field notes. And it's handmade too. And I actually got it off Amazon because it was the only place I could find that had the sizing because it was called a field notes journal. I knew it would fit the journal. And it actually came with its own journal. So it actually came with one when I'd actually ordered stone paper journals, because the stone paper is waterproof, so I think it will handle travelling around a bit better. But this is hopefully going to become my... So I'm just putting the pen back where it should be. My purse. So I got my card and my license in here. I am also hoping for an insert to go into here. So my intent with this book is to be my to-do list. So one of the shortfalls of the bigger diary was every week I was rewriting my to-do list. And that, I think, is part of where I was getting a lot of burnout from, and a lot of stress of, like, every time I wrote it was the same thing every week, because I'm doing a lot of long form projects at the moment. I am doing editing. Editing takes a long time. It's a nearly 60,000 word novel, which is a short novel, but it's still a lot of words to edit. And I've been doing... my knitting projects are all long-term projects. My spinning projects have all been long-term projects. So what I was finding was every week I was rewriting the same thing over and over again, and I was feeling this pressure that I wasn't moving on to anything new. And as I said, I've been watching a lot of shows about, about people's setups and that. And the reason this one appealed to me as an idea for my to-do list, and it's not just my crafting to-do list. If I'm out and about and I go, oh shit, I forgot to do this, I can write it down. Like I forgot to I forgot to send an email to this customer at work. Write it down, so when I get in the next week after my whole weekend, I can go, okay, done. That sort of thing. But I don't have to. Like, I've written this up yesterday. I wrote this up yesterday, and it literally says, the 11th of the 11th, so 11th of November, 25 to-dos. And I have my 3 books that I'm currently working on. I have 2 books that I'm currently reading. One is on sort of like semi-hiatus. It's a compilation of the Icelandic sagas, so I can read one and then put it down, and then read another, put it down. But it is on my reading list. It is a book I'm in the middle of, and I hadn't been writing it in every week on my other diary because I hadn't intended to go and read it that week. But here it's here so I don't forget it. And then my crafting, I've got my spinning, which is the last of my Shah flock. And then I've got, that's only some of it. There's more over there somewhere. And I've got all the knitting projects that I know I have on the needles, but I'm not working on at the moment. And I've got a crochet project, which I know is sitting right here. But I haven't been working on it. So my thought process is that this one is going to be a little bit of a to-do list, dumping ground, reminder thing. And this is the monthly, weekly appointment trackers, the critical information I don't want to forget from either books that I've read or ideas that I have, and my work horse book for just mind mapping and figuring things out and things like that. So that's where I am. Now I will change this a little bit. I literally got this yesterday. Okay, so I have on order, I have some silver clips to protect the edge a little bit so that I can keep it closed but keep the edge nice. And I'm thinking I'll do the same as what I did with this one by poking the holes in the back. Just sort of poking some holes in here so I can string some elastic in it and put that insert in. Maybe, I don't know, I'll see. As I said, my intention with this is to just see how it works, see what I end up using, what I'm not using, and amend as I need to, and go from there. So, and the idea is not to push productivity, it is to help me maintain memory of what needs to be getting done. It is to remind me of ideas that I've had or things that I know I need to do that I've been putting off. It is not intended as a productivity journal or a productivity setup. Like, I know my editing of botany is going to be at least another 2 to 3 months. I know it's going to take that long. There is no need for me to set a date to do it by. Well, let me rephrase that. I refuse to set a date to have it done by because I've had severe burnout this year. And I just need to get things ticking again. And I also don't like to do those sorts of dates. I like to have intentions. Like, I like to do like maybe a chapter a week when I'm working at my fastest. But we've also, the kids are getting older, we've been having specialist appointments and things. And it's just, it eats into your brain power. I have a specialist whose paperwork I have to do for her, and it's just not in my brain space at the moment to go through and do. And I need to get it done. So things like that, like, see, that's something I need to put in here as a moment reminder to get it done. And I haven't done that yet. So yeah. What's your journaling system look like? Do you have a journaling system? Do you just go with the flow? I need to have some structure or I will forget things. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately, at the moment. But yeah, let me know below. Any suggestions, any ideas? And yeah, I do like this. I've always liked little wallets, and I love the fact that I have a notebook in this so much. So yeah, thank you for joining me. I would say like, comment, and subscribe, but we are all adults here. Do whatever the fuck you want. And I shall see you in the next video. Bye.